I'm going to introduce the next speaker to us. His name is Vijay Kumar. He's Vijay Kumar KM from Tata Communications Limited. He's a senior information security professional with over 20 years of versatile experience in information security management, governance, consulting, and training. He's completed his CISSP, CCSK, CCIPR, CEH, and SHIFI, holding 15 more technical certifications in the security domains, and also completed cyber law. Currently working at Tata Communications, he's heading the security operations. Also, he's a regular speaker at various security forums and guest lecturer in leading universities, colleges for cybersecurity courses. Please put your hands together for inviting Vijay Kumar.
Thank you. Hello, am I audible? Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for joining this session because I know the other topics also interesting. Thanks for joining. It is my pleasure to be a speaker in ICC event every year. I'm sure for the past 2 days, you would have attended the various sessions or the aspects related to the digital, because the conference theme is everything is digital. Now we need to relate how the digital coming into place when we talk about the SOC, Security Operations Center. So we need to look at 3 aspects. One is, let us look at the technological landscape. Effect of digital technology. We are living in the world of digital disruption, technological advancement, experienced never before in our human life. So if I put it in a nutshell, converging trends in cloud, then mobility, digital collaboration, IoT, which means today digital edge can be anywhere, anytime. So that's where we are living on the technical landscape. So when there is a change, evolving stage of technology, obviously threat landscape also evolving. So it is imperative for us to relook the SOC strategy. Our existing SOC is capable of detecting the emerging threats. That is where we need to look at, because if you look at SOC is being a first line of defense for any organization to detect, again initiate necessary actions to contain, so that you will be able to minimize the impact. So being a first level of defense, we need to ensure it is taken to the next level in terms of maturity, in terms of advancement or the modern SOC capability, so that you have a capability to detect what is happening on the organization, and then you will be able to take actions. So with this context, so the presentation outline, I will talk about need for modern SOC, how it evolves. Then if we need to build this, the next generation SOC, what is the governance model, people, process, technology. Then I will also talk about when we say the adaptive SOC or the modern SOC, what all the typical, the various technologies should be integrated with your traditional SIEM solution. How to test the effectiveness of the SOC. It is not about like implementing the technology. We need to ensure it is effective. It is functioning full at its capacity to detect or prevention capability, whatever it's so. SOC measurements and also the maturity. Need for modern SOC. If you look at the SIEM is revolving in, it's a main piece when we talk about the SOC. Everything revolving around SIEM. Traditional SIEM is more of signature based or reactive in nature, and it is not capable of detecting any emerging threats, be it like advanced persistent threat, APT-10, which is basically Chinese group targeting any state sponsor attack, targeting a government environment, government infrastructure or any critical infrastructure. There are APT-15 and 28. This is from Russian espionage group. Basically, like by implanting a malware, they just compromise and then they try to do the espionage activities. So there are various actually emerging threats. Then again the ransomwares are there, insider threats. We need to see whether the traditional SIEM has got a capability to detect these kind of threats. Not effective in detecting the sophisticated attack. It is not only that technology is evolving, organization is implementing the advanced technologies, even the hackers or the malicious group or the scammers, they leverage the AI ML solutions to launch attack. They leverage the advanced technologies to evade from the defense mechanism put by the organizations. So that is why we need to look at the traditional way of implementing SIM solutions and saying we have a SOC solutions wouldn't be effective. SOC define, when we say the modern SOC capability, the Security Operations Center provides centralized and consolidated cyber security incident prevention, detection and response capability. Typically, if you look at security operations functions often performed by SOC, that is where the SIM solution comes into place. Critical devices, logs are integrated with SIM solution, and then the SIM apply this whatever the use cases configured, trigger this alert if there are any anomalies or any suspicious activity, triaging done by your operations team, they initiate actions for remediations. It also includes cybersecurity, incident response management, security device, software management and maintenance, threat intelligence and vulnerability management. When we talk about the threats, there are three things: known, 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 unknown, unknown, unknown. Known means there are something happened, whatever solutions you have, the solutions also has a capability to identify. That is where you have a SIM, the signature based solutions. Known, unknown. Some part of the world, there are some attack or there are some compromises or there are some malwares, okay? There is a signatures or there are IOCs available, but your solution do not have a visibility of that. Known, unknown. That is where the threat intel feeds coming into place. Threat intel means like it is a kind of feeds having a the activities related to malicious activity. It could be a phishing, it could be a malware or botnet related activity, or the IPs involved in a DDoS attack or IPs involved in a amplification attack, anything could be. When we actually look at this threat intel related solutions, we need to see what is our use case, what is our requirement, we need to pick appropriately. So obviously, the signature based, the SIM solutions alone wouldn't suffice. Now if you look at all the OEMs, SIM OEMs, they have their own the threat intel feeds. Again, we need to see whether it is adequate, we need to add the more SIMs, the threat intel feeds. Then the security compliance management, obviously the security training also now getting into the SOC. It is part and parcel of the SOC response activities. So when we say the SOC, it is not only the technology, it is a people, process as well as the technology. There is no vendor or single solution available to take care of all the three aspects. So maybe as we move on, we'll also talk about, when I say the next generation SOC, on the people aspect, what all things we need. Because it is not just only the L1, L2, L3 monitoring capability alone. We are talking about much more. Threat hunting. Again, we are talking about the malware analysis, reverse engineering aspects. There are much more things are there. We will see. So comprehensive governance model. If already you have a SOC solution, okay, SIEM, if you need to take it to the next level with the advanced capability, then obviously you need to have a clear objective. What is your pain area? What is your gaps? Then again to invest more on SOC technologies, obviously we need to have a management approval, you need to have a business case, submit, get approval, then prepare for the budgeting as well. When it comes to the process, it is not only a incident response process, it's much more. You need to have a threat hunting procedures, incident management procedures, then again how to integrate the new log sources, how to integrate the new non-standard devices, then parser development, much more, the malware activities. Again, all the use cases, the team operations team needs to have a standard operating procedure on when the operations team come across with any alert, what is the response procedures. On the people, the traditional way, if you look at L1, L2, L3, but in the security parlance, as per the SANS, L1 means alert analyst, L2 is incident responder, L3 is the SME, subject matter expert. Now on the modern SOC, or how it is evolving is, the L1 concept is going away, which means that is where the triaging activities organization is looking to automate. How the triaging or the analysis can be automated, so that without manual intervention, the actions can be initiated to contain as quickly as possible. That is where the SOAR coming into place. We will talk more on when it comes to the SOAR slide. Then wherever there is a gap, when we talk about the expertise on the people, okay, it is not only a log monitoring, SIM monitoring expertise or the analysis. Obviously, we are looking for a threat analyst. Okay. Then again, threat hunting. Then the malware analysis, red teaming, blue teaming capability, so that you would be able to simulate some of the attacks, see whether your SOC team is able to detect and respond to this incident. So these all aspects we are looking. If there are any gaps in the internal expertise, obviously they can engage a third party to fulfill the gaps. There are options also available. So integrated technology, security technology, when we talk about the adaptive SOC, which means if you look at the SOC maturity, there are 3 levels. First level is the reactive approach, pure play SIEM, depending on only the reactive approach. Second is the next level is the proactive approach, which means in addition to the signature based, the reactive approach, I also rely on the threat intel sources from the various source, which is again integrated with the SIM. So it has some kind of visibility on the proactive as well. So proactive. Next level, the adaptive, that is where you need to integrate various technologies, threat intel, SOAR component, deception, so that it is able to take action based on that incident without any manual intervention. So we will see. So it talks about SIM technology maturity, asset modeling. This is nothing but when we integrate the devices, just group the devices. These all the internet facing devices, these all complaints related, these all critical applications, so that you will be able to give a priority to these items, what needs to be done. Log source integrations and custom parser connected development. So again, when come to the integration of the devices, 2 things. One is a standard set of devices, non-standard set of devices. Standard set of devices, obviously, the SIM will have a default use cases which can be leveraged. But if there are any non-standard, there is no parser, the connectors available. Obviously, that has to be developed. This is one of the unique skill set the SOC team needs to have, so that they will be able to integrate the device with SOC for correlation purpose. Use case management, this is very important. This plays a vital role, because this is where the logic is applied, the threshold is applied. You have a log, you are getting log from various devices, but this is where you are giving a input to the SIM at what logic, what threshold, which devices it has to map with this particular use case, and then see whether it is an anomaly or whether it is a suspicious activity. This is very, very important. So when we talk about use case management, we can have use cases, device based use cases, threat based, based on the prevailing threat actors, APT 10, APT 20, APT 28 or APT 15, because these are known threat actors, they follow certain standard procedures. If I say APT 10, I know their methodology, this is the approach. I can map with the MITRE framework, I can look at what all tactics will be leveraged by these guys, apply the use cases. We can also do the testing. That is where threat based use case comes. The similar way, if you look at the device based use case, threat aligned use case and multi device use case, if anything related to the malware, obviously the team would be integrating logs from your enterprise perimeter firewall, that is the internet gateway. Then you are also collecting the logs from the antivirus softwares related to the servers or endpoints. Okay. So when any use case related to the malware, it needs to be applied on both. So this is again multi. Don't take decision on only looking at only one sources. Apply wherever possible and do the correlations, so that it will be effective. You will get a holistic view on what is happening on the organization. Obviously, the full packet capture for forensics, because it would give net flow related or packet analysis, any protocol mismatches, you will be able to identify. Anything flooding, you will be able to identify. Threat intelligence, again it is important piece. My suggestion is don't rely only on the OEM provided the threat intel alone. There are a lot of open source available. There are commercial source available. Obviously, it needs to be a good mix of like threat feeds. Like we need to have a commercial, we need to have a open source. Also, if possible, get the feeds from the regulators like CERT, country specific regulators. Do this enrichment. Have a criteria. If it meets the 90 and above, then you categorize that as a blacklisted IP. Those IPs can be actually added as a watch list in the SIEM, so that you configure the use case. If there is any internal system communicating with nefarious IP on the internet, okay, the moment it triggers the alert, it has to check the sources. If it matches, trigger the alert. So, which means you are not relying only on OEM provider, because whoever part of the SOC, I am sure you will have this pain area. When it comes to the suspicious access or when it comes to the malware related activity, that is where you would observe more false positive, because you are relying on only the OEM provided, the SEM related, the threat intel feeds. If you have a good mix, commercial, open source, again the regulators, do the enrichment, get the output integrated with the SIM solutions, then the false positive obviously you can bring down, because this is very, very important, because each OEM they have their own the aspects, or they will have a risk attributes based on which they classify this source is the malicious, which might not be same. Other sources might say it is a neutral or good reputation. So, we need to have a threat enrichment aspect. Again, it should be a context based one. Okay, I might be getting the feeds from various sources, I have a good mix, but I need to know the context, what is my operating environment. If we have a CMDB, which is a single source of truth, have a clear inventory of the assets, again the operating system or the devices which OS running. When there is an advisory, you will be able to map which all devices are the impacted devices, then you will be able to share the advisories to only the respective team rather than flooding it as a general advisory, because this is very, very important. Context, we need to provide the context, only then it is value. Security analytics part, UEBA, user entity behavior analysis. If you look at the SOC, just I would like to throw this question. How many of you actually integrating endpoint related logs with the SIM solution? Endpoint, all the endpoints. Okay. So, I can see 5 to 6. If you look at in a bigger organizations, if you are having like a 20,000, 50,000 employees, you can integrate the malware, the AV related logs, but you cannot integrate all your endpoint related logs, then obviously your EPS will suit up. So, what would be the solutions? Because if you look at in the modern actually on the current landscape, we need to see the insider threats. Currently the SIM, the pure play SIM, traditional SIM, doesn't have any capability related to any user behavior, baselining, or effectively identifying the insider threats. That is where the UEBA solution comes. If you directly integrate with the SIM, then you are putting a more load on SIM. Okay? Obviously, the EPS would shoot up and a lot of the other issues will come into play. That is where you need to see the pure play, the UEBA related solutions, which can actually collate logs from the endpoint. Okay? Do this AI, ML related, all this analysis. Output of UEBA related can be integrated with the SIM, so that you are getting a valuable the input after this analysis, initial analysis, so that you can actually work on the mitigation aspect. Incident management tools, obviously when we have a SIM, there should be a ticketing tool, so that the auto ticket can be created, assigned to this resolver group for taking necessary mitigation actions. Then endpoint EDR, EPP. EPP is nothing but your, the traditional way we call it as an antivirus software, but that is not enough. This EPP endpoint protection, which comes with much more features like ransomware detections. Again, there are cloud-based options, sandbox environment. This EDR is a very powerful tool, which gives a good control for the analyst to basically, if there is any infections triggered from the endpoint, you can actually kill that specific process. You will be able to isolate that particular PC. You can initiate much more things. When you get advisory from third-party sources, I want to do the quick IOC search, indicators of compromise on the endpoint environment, you will be able to do. There are much more features are there. So, one of the critical, the challenging thing is right technology to choose from, because there are a lot of plenty of technologies are available. One obviously the SIM, because SOC is revolving around the SIM, that is the main, the centerpiece, right? Then if you look at EDR, already we talked about UEBA, user entity behavior analysis, we have seen. This is again network traffic analysis, basically to get an insight about network flow. Then again the protocol mismatches, threat hunting capability, PAM is for a privileged access management, basically to manage, monitor, control the privileged users access via brokered access, okay, through the wallet mechanism, so that they don't have to share the password. It will be routed through the brokered mechanism. CASB, SOAR, security, orchestration and response. So there are a lot of actually technologies are there. You need to see what is your need, what is your use case. Whenever we choose any solutions, it should actually complement with the SIEM. It should not duplicate the effort, or it should not replace the SIEM, because SIEM is the centerpiece which is involved in a detection. You can have many solutions, but please ensure like it is going to complement, there is no overlap or there is no duplication of effort. From this, I will talk about, touch upon three aspects. One, threat intel I will talk about, because these are going to be essential components of modern SOC. I will cover the threat intel, I will cover the SOAR, I will also talk about the CASB in the subsequent slide. So typically, like when you integrate the CTA, cyber threat intel related fields, the flow, the ideal flow would be like this. LAN, the users again through the internet gateway, they are accessing the internet. If there is any malicious traffic, obviously the SIEM, the SIEM, the threat intel feed will trigger the alert. When you rely on the CTA external, it can be anything. Okay, it will also cross check with the external feeds, whatever added into the watch list, and then trigger the alert. Next is the deception technology. This we are all aware, because earlier we used to call it as a honeypot or honeynet. The overall idea is this is basically a sandbox type of a platform or type of honeypot environment. The whole objective of honeypot is we need to detect basically the attacker intention or the threat vector or the approach, how actually he is trying to gain access to our environment. The idea is this is all the fake systems. How the deception work is, this is a fake system, pretends to be a original system, deployed on your network, will have a valid IP addresses exposed to publish to the internet, which means it is accessible. It is configured in such a way that internal network users will not be able to access or touch any of the deception systems. If somebody touches, say for example, you can have a decoys at the multiple level, threat intel decoys you can have a servers, applications you can have, endpoint decoys you can have. Endpoint decoys, the approach would be like they will have a text file which will have the passwords. Pretends to be original, the passwords stored by the user. Similar way, there will be a typical, the fake website which will actually prompt for a username, password, again authentication page, all those things. It's similar to your real environment. If somebody touches, that means it is a very clear evidence that some malicious guy is trying to attempt this deception, the decoy. Now, if you are planning for a SOAR, this is the one you need to look at. Whatever alert coming out of the deception, that can be automated for the mitigation actions. Because no scenario, the internal users will access this decoy. If somebody accesses the decoy or decoy detect any lateral movement on the network, which means it is a clear case of compromise. Somebody actually compromised the endpoint system, okay, trying to access the password file or trying to do the lateral movement, scanning, enumerating the other system to see what all weaknesses, what all vulnerabilities are there. It is a clear case of compromise. This will help the organization in detecting particularly the sophisticated attack in the early stage. Idea is this will have a log. When you go through the log based on the alert, I can see what is the attack vector used by the hacker, what methodology they are using it, okay, what is their tactics. Then based on this information, I will be able to take action at the necessary levels. Next is on the CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker. Now, if you look at typically the SIEM solution, typically will have actually or collect logs from the critical systems of IT enterprise. Now, if you look at 90% of the organizations, they have moved to cloud, which means they are some purpose they are using a cloud services. Does your SIEM have a visibility to cloud services? cloud access or whatever data going from your organization to cloud. How many of you integrated the cloud, the SaaS based applications with SIM solution? It's not possible, right? That is where the cloud access security broker coming into place. Basically, it provides two things. One, visibility. If you want to implement, you need to integrate CASB with your internet gateway and then your SaaS based applications, which means it will have a log. It provides the visibility. Then you can have a control. Once I have a visibility, what is going out from organization to the cloud applications. Similar way, then access, whatever access initiated, whatever data transfer happens, then I can have a control. Say for example, I'll just touch upon quickly two use cases and then I'll move on to the next slide. Here again we can talk about there is a sanction IT portions, which means one, the organization IT provide certain services. Apart from this, users, if you know, they might be accessing lot of other things on the internet, like Word to PDF. Organization provides license PDF, but still lot of people actually uploading the document into third-party cloud. Again, they do this Word to PDF. Moment get into the third-party cloud, do you have any control? What are they going to do? Do you have any visibility whether sensitive document actually transferred to the cloud or not? Okay, that is where this comes. The shadow IT piece, it again looks at the various risk attributes and then it gives a risk scoring. And dynamically it blocks certain websites based on the risk attributes. It will allow once the risk attributes are taken care on the shadow IT part. Sanction IT part, all the cloud applications we actually provision the services. Do we have any visibility on who all accessing the cloud applications from where? That is where there are certain use cases like anomaly access. So what it does is it creates the baseline. Over a period of like 2 weeks time, it creates the baseline. The person A operates from India in Chennai locations. This is how we access the cloud applications. This is the pattern. This will be there in baseline. Suddenly, the moment you see the access from some other locations, there is a deviation from the baseline. It triggers as an alert. Again, there is something called superhuman access. Okay, say for example, Office 365 or any cloud, the SaaS based application. User is actually accessing, first attempt is maybe now, after 2 minutes, again there is a login attempt observed from US or any of the African country. It is practically not feasible, right, in 2 minutes, which is a suspicious thing. Because it creates the baseline, it is able to identify this is the user behavior or pattern for accessing the cloud based applications. It triggers the alert, you can do that. Similar way, you can see whether any of your employees or users using an unmanaged device, one organization provided device, unmanaged device, accessing your cloud applications, downloading the data, trigger alert. There are a lot of controls are available. Again, it also covers certain parts of DLP, data leakage prevention. If you have a cloud storage, you have your own approved cloud, then again implementing the classifications, putting a proper classification, confidential, internal, public, whatever it is, it can actually do this flagging. And then you can actually create a lot of use cases. If the confidential data moving out of approved cloud, trigger the alert, again block it or alert. A lot of use cases are there. So this plays a very important role when it comes to the cloud visibility and control. This is one of the piece can be there with your modern SOC. So already we have seen the traditional SIM solution, then the threat intel mix of the various aspect, then again to have a visibility on cloud, the CASB. Next comes the automation part. So already when we look at this governance model, on the people part, we have seen the traditional, the L1, L2 concept. The L1 basically is going away because that is where the people, the organizations looking for automating certain activities related to the triaging or the initial analysis so that they'll be able to initiate the containment measures as quickly as possible. This is where the SOAR coming into picture. Security orchestration and response. If you look at the overall the SOC maturity, the SOAR cannot be done at the day one because if you need to implement the SOAR, you need to mature. You need to ensure that the false positives are optimized. There is no false positive because the organization wants to take action for the valid, the legitimate, the alerts, okay, not for the false positive. Then it will create a lot of havoc in the operation environment. That is where you need to mature your SOC. You need to optimize the false positive. If you know these alerts are giving a real ones, true ones, those things needs to be validated, then we can do the automation complete end to end. Any of the cases, if you see some validation mechanism need to be there throughout this life cycle, that is where you can actually bring in the manual intervention to decision making, and then partial automation also can be done. Some of the use cases like if you are actually looking for a SOAR, the malicious communication or suspicious communication to CNC, that is where the organization needs to take action immediately, right? So the moment it triggers the alert, based on looking at the use case of SIEM as well as threat and related feeds, what needs to be done is the SIEM solution will automatically create ticket on your ticketing tool. From the ticketing, it will go to your SOAR engine, then you create the playbook. For the malware related activity, which all places we need to take action? One at the perimeter level, okay, the firewall level, blocking that particular IP. Then again, if there are any URL, the malicious URL, okay, that needs to be blocked. The similar way like unauthorized scanning activity. If there are any approved activity, obviously SOC or the NOC will have a notifications. If anything found unauthorized scanning or enumerations on the internal network, this is where we need to take action on blocking that particular source IP so that we can actually contain it. This again, this can be automated. See the scenario like somebody targeting your application segment. If you observe any like a scanning activity, you can initiate, you can create a playbook to block that particular source IP at the WAF level. Then again the phishing, this is again multi-pronged approach. Phishing, it is not only a single actually action. If your employee is receiving a phishing, you can automate the triaging activities, okay? Looking at various threat intel feeds, looking at various internet security watch group for the analysis, triaging, and then like once it is confirmed as a malicious IP, blocking at the firewall, URL blocking at the firewall, again extracting information from the email gateway, which all the internal users received this particular email, that can be extracted. Again, raise a ticket to the help desk internal mechanism to alert all the users on the awareness mechanism, okay? Again, the scanning their PCs. It's a multi-pronged approach. It is a comprehensive use case. It will take some time because you need to mature the process. So as a part of the SOC implementation, okay, I have created certain use cases. So how to test or how to cover the gaps? This is where it helps. If you look at the MITRE attack, adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. If you look at it, has 13 tactics, and if you look at the techniques, there are close to 311 techniques are there. So tactics is basically a tactical objective, and the techniques will tell you like how to execute the task to meet the objective of tactical objective. So one of the example is like here what we are saying is tactical is credential access. To meet this objective, one of the things, the technique would be brute force attack or the credential attack. So this will help you, and initially I was talking about APT10 because these are all known operations, prevailing threat actor, and they follow the certain methodology for executing or launching the attack, which means with this MITRE framework, you will be able to map which all the tactics they use it for the APT10, which all tactics they use it for APT28 or the 15, so that you can actually look at your use cases. One is you map your existing use cases with MITRE and see what is your level of coverage. Are you adequately covering all the 13 tactics? Are you missing any pieces? Where this will give a clear idea where you are lagging, where you need to enhance. This is a very good tool. The other one is CKC, cyber kill chain. The 7 stages you can map your existing use cases, see you are adequately covered in terms of reconnaissance activity or weaponization activity or initial the access, all those things you can do. Test the effectiveness of the SOC. It is not only having a use cases, we need to see the use cases are effective in detecting the malicious activity happening on the organization. So if you look at, I have actually covered certain aspect. Can you transfer malware through the perimeter? So basically, if you integrated with the firewall logs with the SIEM should trigger the alert. Can malware establish CNC undetected? Successful communication to the nefarious IP and the CNC communications. Will my SIEM correlate the alerts correctly? Can a threat actor transfer sensitive data out? Can a threat exploit the system? Can an attacker run a code undetected? This is related to again the malware, EDR and EPP solutions. This is where the red teaming capability comes, or readiness assessment related to any of the prevailing threat, like APT-10 assessment, APT-15 assessment, will help you to see your readiness to tackle how effective your SOC operations. SOC KPIs quickly, if you want to measure the performance, one of the things is percentage of critical devices covered. That is very important, so that you know are you covering the critical ones. Percentage of use case triggering the alert. Ability for SIM to detect the incident, the actual events happening at the system, but how quickly SIM correlate, picks that particular alert and trigger. That's very important. False positive optimization over a period of time on the maturity journey. Obviously, you need to bring down this false positive, noise would be less. Percentage of reduction in repeated incident, root cause analysis, again deploying the technologies to basically address the various scenarios. Operational SLAs, obviously, first level response, time to contain, time to resolve. If you want to see where do you fit in on the SOC maturity journey, this is again published by the Gartner. You can see if somebody has only a pure play SIM, that is the initial. Okay, if somebody has a SIM, EDR, NTA, UBA, deception, orchestration, then they are at the level 5. Okay, you can map this. Summary. Basically, the mindset needs to change. SIM is not only for a compliance purpose or meeting the audit requirements. We need to move from reactive to adaptive approach. Reactive, proactive, and then adaptive approach. Choose the right set of technologies which can complement and enhance the detection SIM capability, expedite the incident response and containment. Test the effectiveness of the use cases I already talked about, mapping with the MITRE framework, do the testing, do the red teaming exercise, measure the process and the continual improvement. With this, I am done with this presentation. If you have any questions, do you have a
Thank
time?
you, Vijay Kumar. Any questions, please come to the mic, please. Thank you for your presentation, Vijay Kumar.
So you mentioned about SIEM and different tools like CASB, right? So in terms of, if I have to understand, since it is cloud and SIEM is more of the infrastructure which we have within the organization, are there any limitation when we are talking about CASB in terms of monitoring the cloud when we compare it with SIEM? In terms of what SIEM can do in terms of monitoring the security incidents, does CASB also has similar capabilities, or are there any limitations?
No. Here, the CASB is meant for actually cloud, to bringing in the cloud related visibility. And that is what we were talking. You cannot integrate all your devices into SIEM. SIEM predominantly meant for integrating the critical, the infrastructure IT related, or there are certain the technology related. But if you want to specifically have a visibility on the cloud, because the CASB is not related to the SIEM, it does not job. It complements the SIEM, wherein it brings the visibility of your organization traffic or data transfer or access to the cloud. That is what I talked about, some of the visibility. So when you integrate the CASB with this, obviously the SOC will have a single interface. Okay? Though the CASB does its job of bringing the visibility and control, again after integrating, the alert will be triggered on the SIEM, so that the SOC operations team will have a single dashboard to get this alert and then initiate. You need to have a standard operating procedures. This is a unique kind of features. It does not do any SIEM related things.
Thank you, sir. It is a wonderful presentation. I have a specific question. Suppose CERT is giving us an alert. These IPs are malicious IPs. Where you will go and block? Whether you will block in firewall, in IPS or IDS, where you will block? First question.
Okay.
I have one more question also. If you answer this question, that is.
Yeah. So if see here, with the SIEM, you would be actually collecting the logs from various sources. One, if you have a firewall logs integrated. Then if you have a IDS or IPS, that is also integrated. But if you look at your perimeter is the firewall. Where do you want to block is, you want to block at the perimeter level, so that it is not coming or reaching to your network. So the moment if there is a trigger about the malicious IP alone, that IP needs to be blocked at the perimeter firewall level. But if that is a phishing email which has again the URLs, URL can be blocked at the domain, again the firewall level. If there is any origination email, that has to be blocked at the gateway level. Depends on which one you want to block, but to answer your question, it should be at our perimeter level firewall.
Sir, correct.
Gateway.
Correct, sir. But when we say receive from OSINT and as well as multiple sources, there are thousands and thousands of IPs. If I go on blocking in firewall, my firewall performance will degrade. No? So
Okay.
how you will address this?
That is why, like if you look at, I talked about the threat enrichment. Because if you look at no day goes without any threat advisory or any vulnerability, 0 day or breaches or hacking, right? Every day we get threat advisory. There are plenty of actually sources are providing the threat intel advisory. So we need to see which one is relevant to us. That is where I told we need to have a good mix. One, open source. You cannot rely completely on open source. Have some mix of commercial as well as the government provided, because they would have done already the enrichment part. Government, they provide the context based the threat intel advisory. You have a mix, run an algorithm to see the enrichment part. Then you have a criteria. If the blacklisting, if the percentage is 95% above, don't select 80. 80 means it will be huge. Don't select 90. 90 it will be huge. If all the sources matches 95% of bad reputation, those IPs alone, you add it in the SIEM as a watch list, not block. If you block, then the firewall get loaded. Integrate your threat intel with the SIEM so that it will get added on daily basis, whatever frequency you set. Once in 8 hours, once in 12 hours, it gets added. When you create the use case, one is rely on OEM provided threat intel. Also you check with watch list. If it matches on the watch list, you trigger the alert. Then you see there won't be any false positive.
Okay.
There won't be any false positive.
Thank you, sir.
Then even again over and above, if you see anything, that is where your actually analysis will come into place, you can block. Otherwise it is a detection only.
Thank you.
We are moving to automation for like SOC, SOAR platform which we are going to use. Like this one in the example, like incident creation, artifact reputation matching, and looking at the similar emails or similar kind of things, everything is okay. But I saw one point, it will automate the scan to for the particular endpoint. Whether it is good, because the automation I just took 2 to 5 minutes, I just saw. So, like when a SOC analyst, if you are going for particular machine to the scan, we will usually request for manual scan or apart from. Normally, it will take huge number of signatures which you use to scan. It will take a lot of time.
Right.
So those kind of things also we feed into automation, whether the results will be very good.
So, two things. When we say the scan, one, scan on the endpoint. If you observe any malicious activity on the endpoint, the approach, what I suggest is like you can raise a ticket to your help desk to do the scanning and confirm, over. But the other scanning is if there is any targeted attack destined to your application segment, critical application segment, that is where I need to see is there any vulnerability really exists on that applications. So which means as a part of automation, if you can plan, looping your security assurance team to have a quick VA, web application VA, to see is there any SQL injection related, is there any OASP related top 10 vulnerability, any vulnerability exists. That would help, because if somebody like keep on like trying to reach that particular the application segment, means they'll have some idea, they would have seen some vulnerabilities. That is the reason there is a constant persistent attack towards that application segment. It's better to do. That is the thing we are talking. Scanning means scanning on the servers, critical servers. Otherwise, the endpoint scanning, it can be, we can leave it to the IT help desk team. Okay? Because
Thank
it's
you,
not
Vijay
possible.
Kumar.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Can I ask
Thank you.
Mr. Sudarshan Mandyam to go ahead and present the memento? Thank you, Vijay Kumar, again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. We'll just have a quick 10-minute break. Sorry, the voting pads. Thank you for reminding me. Done?